So here I am in the garage again, about to perform some routine maintenance. This time the bike's done about 18,000 miles now, so I need to change the spark plugs, which are in there somewhere, and I need to change the air filter, which is in there somewhere. I've already done the brake pads, and so I've never done this on a bike before, so let's see how we go. And the trusty Haynes manual. Nice new iridium spark plugs. I've read good things about these, so let's just see how true those things are. The first thing I've got to do is remove the rectifier, because I've got to raise the fuel tank. So this is the rectifier here, so I've got to undo that, those two bolts, move this whole thing out the way, and then when I raise the fuel tank, this thing here will just sort of open into there. That's the idea anyway. Place to store these, because otherwise I am going to lose them and I will put them back in the wrong place. Now that's what I call improvisation. If you haven't got anything to hand, just when you raise the fuel tank, just support it on a bungee cord to the top of the garage door. And then, now I've moved the rectifier out of the way, fuel tank's raised up. Honda are very cautious and want you to remove this little piece of wire which stops you from raising the fuel tank too high. So obviously when you lift up the fuel tank, you don't end up squishing this thing. So it's important to move that out of the way. Now for the next segment of the operation of this surgical procedure. Simple thing like removing spark plugs. I never knew. Obviously, I understand it's going to be a bit more involved on a motorbike, because there's obviously everything's just cram packed inside quite a small space. But on a car, it's just like a 2-second job. But yeah. So I need to remove those side panels as well. Let's do that. Crazy that the more and more panels that you remove and the more that you take off, the more scary it looks underneath. So I've just spent the better part of half an hour trying to get this thing out, and it was sort of lodged very tightly in there. I'm following the instructions of the Haynes manual, of course, which tells me to remove it. Now I don't know why, because I think you can get clearance of the spark plugs, so from what I understand, you've got one here, one's in there. I don't know how to how I'm going to get to those two inner ones, but so I've just removed this thing, and that was an absolute nightmare. How I'm going to get it back in is going to be another mission. I've just got to remember where all these cables connect to, because I've had to disconnect a few of these cables. But yeah, it's called a pair system control valve, whatever on earth that does. I've got to remove the ignition coils, so that's that thing there. So I've just disconnected the wiring, and I've noted which colours go to which connectors on the back. And the important part now is I've got to, obviously when I disconnect the spark plugs, I've got to remember, you can see they're numbered here, so that's 2, that's cylinder 2, that's cylinder 3, and cylinder 2 is probably not showing up on camera there, but cylinder 2 is that one there. Cylinder 3 is like further in, so that's what I'd imagine. The one on the other side of the bike is cylinder 1 and 4. So okay, so remember, cylinder 2, this one here, so this is cylinder 1, okay, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, right. So that's the left hand side ignition coil removed, which provides the spark to cylinders 2 and 3, And you can see that I've got a little bit more clearance to get the spark plugs out now. So now I've got to see if I can get the other ignition coil out. And let's be careful with that, because this is important. Now to remove the right hand side ignition coil, and already got rid of that's the spark plug which is in that hole there. Jesus, is turning it into a serious mission. I'm glad I only have to do this every 16,000 miles, but just remember that that's cylinder 1, that's cylinder 4. So now the bike has no ignition coils, and I hopefully now should get to, you can see the holes for the spark plugs there, about 3 of them, and the other ones on this side. Oh yeah, I see the spark plug. The spark plug is right in there. There we go. Let's get that sucker out and see what it's like. And all 4 of them. There we are, cylinder 1 spark plug removed. It's not that bad of a condition, is it? Looks alright. You can usually tell by, I mean, in my earlier days of car mechanics, which is bringing into the light, you can usually tell by the condition of a spark plug how good of a condition the engine is in. So if it's like really black, then you know you've got a problem. If it's like really like yellow, then you got another problem. But if it's sort of like a healthy brown like this, then your engine's not doing too badly. Old versus new. So on the left I have the new spark plugs I'm putting in there. I'm fitting these iridium spark plugs, and you're going to see how well they do. And also just got to check my spark plug gap, the gap between the center electrode and the little thing at the top. Should be about 0.9 millimeters. So I'm just going to check that. So the nice new iridium spark plugs are fitted in the 4 little holes, using in there, and in there, those, using this little fantastic tool which comes with the bike. Don't know what I'd do without this. And yeah, let's put it back together. These are the old ones. Here now, they're looking, this one especially has got some nasty corrosion on it, but I don't think that's anything to worry about. I think that's just the plug itself just getting old. And let's put everything back together and see what happens. So that's both ignition coils fitted. The spark plug ignition leads fitted back onto the spark plugs in the right order, because that is very important. And now for this, to get this little bugger back in there somehow. Here goes. You know when you misplace tools and you know you had it like 5 seconds ago, and now you look everywhere and it just cannot be found. But the good news is, putting that little pair control valve thing back on was a lot easier than getting it out. So it's in there. There it is. And now I've just got to pull this hose back down so it's flush with the engine. I found my pliers. So let's get to it. Right, so as far as I am aware, that's everything fitted back where it should be. Tags back down, just need to bolt that down, stick some screws back in there, and then put the rectifier back here somewhere. And then next is to change the air filter, which I have no idea where it goes. I'm sure I'm going to find out though. Nice new air filter, nice and clean and shiny. So, where does it go? Yeah. No. 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 Aha! Right. So this thing must come out. Oh yes, it looks really dirty and mucky inside there. Well, let's put a nice new one in there, shall we? A nice new one. Just cleaning all of the crap out of this thing, which is the crankcase breather. When I took it out, a whole load of like oily like stuff came pouring out of it, which apparently is known to happen if you ride the bike in wet conditions, and it goes just there. So yeah. Right, now for the moment of truth. Does it start? Does it still work? That's the question. Yes, it does. I'll let it run for a little bit and maybe take it out for a spin later. There's a happy Hornet.